Part 118. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geolan 2020. Chapter 1174. Gretel looked at his senior brother curiously. Method. Methods that can be used by legends. To be honest, he had also tried hard to think about how to make full use of legends' resources and abilities. For example, open a portal that leads directly from the mine to the elf secret realm. This kind of ultra-long distance portal may require the help of a legend to build it. As for the energy of the portal, just let the sun god pay for it. Anyway, it is his own business. As a god, he should still have abundant energy. A mere 200,000 tons of ore, spanning 1,000 kilometers, should not be exhausted. For another example, let Elder Fahim summon an earth element, or several earth elements. Pounce down, use borax and lead blocks to construct your body, and then step by step, walk all the way back from the plateau. As for debris, try to drop as little as possible, or summon a small earth elemental to follow behind and pick up the trash. I just don't know if the Elder's strength is enough to pay for such a large earth element. For another example, my idea is to collect all the ore into the legendary demi-plane, Archmage Baebo said slowly. After taking it in, you only need to transfer one legend. Whether it is flying, riding a magic beast, or being carried by others to fly, it is very convenient. Unfortunately, only legends have demi-planes. Click. Gretel cracked. Half plane, a half plane like the teacher, put all the ore in it, 200,000 tons. He really didn't think of this idea. Is this method feasible? Gretel quickly calculated in his mind. Well, the density of borax, which was weighed once before, is about 1.75, the density of lead seems to be 11.34. Therefore, the volume of 200,000 tons is 100,000 tons of borax, assuming it is pure borax, regardless of the borax content in the ore, is about 58,000 cubic meters. 100,000 tons of lead is approximately 8,818 cubic meters. Altogether, 65,000 cubic meters. In other words, a square of 100 meters by 100 meters is piled with 6.5 meter high blocks. Is the demi-plane that big? Is the teacher's demi-plane that big? There seems to be some, so in theory, if the teacher's demi-plane wants to take away so many minerals at once, it can also take it. Click. Elder Fahim also cracked. He also quickly calculated the numbers that Greed had calculated. Well, 200,000 tons of ore, theoretically, can indeed fit into his demi-plane. But actually, ahem, little friend Baebo, have you ever calculated how much mana its owner needs to pay if the demi-plane carries so many entities? Well, Archmage Baebo has not yet come into contact with this. After all, he has just started sprinting towards legend, and he still has an unknown amount of time before he becomes a legend, maybe 50 years, maybe 100 years, maybe 100 years forever. And some knowledge is really inaccessible without legend. Actually, the feasibility of this plan is already very high. Elder Fahim praised him lovingly, and then turned to everyone. However, having to carry so much ore back to the elf secret realm from the high mountains means that more than half, or even more than 2/3, of my mana will be consumed. With such a large consumption, I will not be able to use it for a long time in the future. It is difficult to ensure the safety of the forest. The legendary mage is a strategic force in this world. An elf legend has the entire forest at his back, and even 2 or 3 legends on the other side dare not attack rashly. However, since it is a strategic force, it cannot be consumed easily. If the legends of Everlasting Island can arrive within a month, I can try this method. However, if they cannot arrive, my strength must be kept at more than half no matter what. Greet nodded slightly. The Holy Sea of Radiance is known to have at least two legends in the northern part of the mountains, or rather, in the viceroyalty of Pelo. It is known that the two of them join forces to pose a threat to the sun god Virakaka. So, if Elder Fahim consumes too much power and these two legends fight into the forest, what will the other elves do? What should I do in the secret realm of elves? So, is there any way to save money? Greet asked aloud. Elder Fahim looked at him with a smile. After all, what about your own method? Greet bit the bullet, opened the portal, summoned the earth element and walked all the way through, and explained these two methods one by one. Elder Fahim laughed while listening. After listening to everything, he nodded in approval. These two methods are very close. You have thought about opening the portal and summoning the earth element, but have you never thought about jumping directly from the earth element world? Ah! Greet was at a loss. Elder Fahim raised his hand and nodded at him. Summon the earth element, collect all the ores to form its body, and then return to the earth element world. Just squat next to the crack and don't move, wait for us to summon next to the elven secret realm, and then, with the ore body, step in again the material world. This is a good idea. Greet's eyes sparkled and the corners of her mouth raised. Beside me, Archmage Baebo asked hesitantly. Then, what if the summoned earth element refuses to bring these ores back? Elemental kings are not that low in intelligence. Well, as a legendary mage, who hasn't signed a few elemental kings, Elder Fahim raised his eyebrows sharply. Archmage Baebo lowered his head, paid tribute, and said nothing. Well, legend is amazing, really amazing. Besides, when you summon it for the first time, make an agreement with it to bring all the ores out next time and give it enough reward, Elder Fahim added with a smile. As for rewards, the sun god has plenty of them anyway, so just let him pay. I have roughly estimated that using this method, less than 1/3 of the power will be consumed, which is completely within the safe range. Well, the mana for transporting the ore is paid by the earth element, the reward for hiring the earth element is paid by the sun god. As a middleman, or in other words, as a head-hunting intermediary, Elder Fahim is only responsible for summoning earth elements, and relying on his unique connections, he gets a large reward. These days, connections are also capital, and they are also qualified to participate in splitting accounts, right? Greet was completely satisfied. Looking at the size of the earth element, it wouldn't be a big deal if you rolled yourself into a 20-meter diameter earth ball, even if you don't get it together once. The big deal is, you just have to roll it back and forth a few more times. Elder Fahim only needs to maintain the summoning array. Even the magic crystals and gems used in the summoning array can be looted from the sun god. Perfect. Then let's go quickly, Greet said excitedly. By the way, Elder, how much is the reward for an earth elemental king who can do so much work? Then you guys have to negotiate for me. The more you get, the less mana I have to pay. 10 days later, the same high priest of the Sun Temple opened the door to the temple's treasure house with a grimace. Please subscribe, ask for monthly tickets, ask for recommendation votes, ask for book reviews, ask for all kinds of. Why aren't book reviews open yet? Cry, 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 cry. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geolan 2020. Chapter 1175. Wow! Behind Gretel, Sirius softly praised him. Although Gretel had strong self-control and did not make any sound, he could not help but open his eyes wide. It was brilliant. A golden light. Gold bars, gold nuggets, gold wainscoting on the walls, gold roofs on the ceilings, gold plates on the tables, gold bowls, gold pots, all kinds of gold sculptures. Greet had already seen it once in the Eagle Country. However, that time in the Eagle Country, only a small portion of the gold was lifted out at a time, The size was just about the same as his own size. But this time, they were all piled up in the warehouse. How can such an overwhelming visual impact be compared to a small pile of gold objects? I want it so much. Cyrilla's breathing became rapid. There was no wind in her hair, the tips of her ears trembled slightly, and she reached out to poke Greet's back. When will my house be like this? This, Cyrilla, please stop. Your demands are too high. This is also a warehouse in the temple. It measures dozens of square meters by visual inspection, definitely less than 50 square meters. How big is your dragon cave? 2,000 square meters is not enough. The dragon cave is still high. The story is dozens of meters high. You have to cover the floor, walls, and ceiling of your dragon cave with gold. I really can't do this. Until now, I have tried my best to make a bed for you with silver coins. Gold coins are still beyond my ability. Don't think about filling the dragon cave with gold now. If it must be thickened, can we use gold foil? Fortunately, Cyrilla only talked about it and never asked Gretel for anything beyond his ability. In fact, she never asked Gretel for money or other rewards. The lovely silver dragon girl wants cute little things that are golden, silver, and tinkling, and she always works hard to earn them. Obviously, she has always understood that the dragon clan's need for money and humans' view of money are two different things. Cyrilla only muttered a few words, then followed Greet and walked slowly inside. I walked, one step at a time, but suddenly I couldn't walk anymore. He grabbed Gretel's sleeve and pointed to the side. Gretel, look. Greet followed her fingers and turned her head. As soon as you enter your eyes, you will see a bright golden light and sparkling waves. A garden made of gold. Golden branches, golden leaves, golden flowers. The petals are thin and slender, trembling, and the breeze is blowing, and they are still trembling gently with the wind. Some golden flowers even have bees, butterflies, and various insects clinging to their petals. The black lines on the back of the bee are inlaid with obsidian. The patterns on the butterfly wings are inlaid with emeralds and jade. The insect's carapace and eyes are inlaid with various gemstones. This, can I pick one? Cyrilla stretched out her hand and retracted it, stretched out her hand and retracted it. Several times my fingertips were about to touch the petals, but they still retracted strongly. Just one. One. Okay, I'll go talk to them. Greet sighed, held her retracted fingertips, and put them against her hand to warm them. We don't take too much, we take a little bit, it's always okay. Such craftsmanship. Such a civilization. The radioactive lines on the gold plate are thin and straight one by one, with the same depth and spacing. The human face on the gold sculpture has vivid eyebrows and dancing hands, full of vitality. Even the gold sculptures of little foxes, little rabbits, little alpacas, and little conches, each one as big as a knuckle or a palm, have their own kind of childish cuteness. It should not be destroyed. It should not be roughly trampled on. Outsiders should not be allowed to rush into temples and palaces and rip off all the gold flakes and leaves from the statues, pillars, and temple walls. These beautiful pieces of gold, with their unique designs and craftsmanship, should not be uniformly hammered into thin slices for portability. This ancient and magnificent temple should not be completely demolished and its bricks, some of which still have statues of local gods on them, be used to build a temple for the Lord of Radiance or a new ruler. Mansion. Rather than letting them be destroyed, the best way is to allow the Sun God to withstand the attack of the Glory Holy Sea. In this world with gods and high-end combat power, as long as they can withstand it, they can slowly progress and slowly connect with other parts of the world. Miss, if you want, you can choose one pot, up to 2 pots. The high priest of the temple quickly caught up and apologized. No more will do. This is dedicated to my God. My God will draw strength from this gold during the large-scale ceremony. Cyrilla's eyes curled up and she smiled brightly. Gretel pinched her fingers and apologized to the high priest. Thank you for understanding us. Then, let's move on. They walked through warehouse after warehouse. Next, there are several more silver vaults than the treasury, and several times more storage capacity. There are warehouses where the most delicate alpaca hair is stored. When you touch it, the wool is as soft as clouds. There is a warehouse where the finest alpaca fabrics are stored. The wool flows through the palms of the hands and feels like silk. Greet really wanted to take out a ring, so he grabbed a shawl and tried to wear it through it. He glanced at Sari La, put this idea away honestly. There are sacred garments that have been woven and prepared to be dedicated to the gods. The cloak is densely studded with small gold and silver beads. The beads are so dense that the yarn underneath cannot be seen at all, just like the tightest chain mail. Let's go, Cyrilla, Greed pulled her hard. This is dedicated to the sun god. If you like this style, I will provide gold and precious stones in the future and ask them to make another one for you. We don't want other people's clothes. But let Long take out the gold, silver, and jewelry. This is unrealistic. Okay, I'm here to bring out the gold, silver and precious stones. Cyrilla was immediately pulled away by Gretchen. Next to the two of them, the high priest was leaning on a cane, shaking his head and smiling bitterly. Oh, youth, youth. It's a pity that the priests of the Sun Temple usually don't have access to this. The priests and the Sun Virgin are strictly separated. Once the Sun Virgin loses her virginity, she needs to be burned to death, and the person who caused her to lose her virginity will also be executed. The next warehouse is filled with all kinds of gems, the green heart of the earth, the fire of the sunset, the blue sea, the luminous stone, the roses of the mountains, all kinds of beautiful pearls, conches, shells. This time, Gretel did not open his mouth as much as the lion. He only reservedly let Cyrilla look at it again and pointed out the varieties she lacked. Then, he dragged the reluctant silver dragon girl out. Let's go. All kinds of precious metals and gems are the earth element's favorite rewards, the most favorite. We just took a look in advance and asked you to keep a little, and most of them have to be given to the earth element. But don't ask for too much. If you ask for too much, the unlucky ones are the miners in this country. They have to dig hard in a short time to fill the temple's warehouse. For this reason, they will be recruited in large numbers and leave their homes. Many people will die. Then, okay. Cyrilla's attitude softened. Although she turned back every step of the way, she was still dragged away by Gretel obediently. Gretel, is there any way I can get an extra share of these things? How about you participate in the summoning of earth elements? Help with the work and share the rewards together. This is a legitimate thing. Let's do it together. I'll give you my share too. Please subscribe, ask for monthly tickets, ask for recommendation votes, ask for book reviews, ask for all kinds of. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geolan 2020. Chapter 1176. Greet and Sarah are not the only ones who want to earn this reward. Archmage Baebo is also in the team, working diligently to help summon the earth element. Make money. Make money. With such a big laboratory, there are so many disciples to support. Although his current laboratory is still in the name of the teacher, he does not always share the teacher's research budget. If he can earn more and have more money, he can do some experiments that interest him. Be more convenient. He is not one of those elves who can eat enough for one person and the whole family is not hungry. He spends all day immersed in the forest and cannot spend any money he has. Archmage Baebo worked hard to summon the earth element, communicate with the earth element, and let the earth element mine lead ore from the veins. Luja and Anari Ling worked hard to summon the earth elements, communicate with them, and let the earth elements mine borax from the veins. Ashmoon Song took a list and counted them one by one with the temple priests to check the quantity of borax and lead that had been delivered before. Gretel and Cyrilla also followed the elder brother to help summon the earth element. Of course, neither Gretel, who specializes in medical treatment, nor Cyrilla, who relies solely on instinct and strength to cast spells, are not good at summoning. All they can do is, the summoning array has been drawn, I'll check it again. The spell configuration is confirmed to be correct. 3, 2, 1, get up. Well, to put it simply, it acts as an emotionless mental power output machine. Activate the summoning array, summon a random earth element, communicate with it, tell it what work it wants to do, and then use your mental power to maintain its existence. Ah, so boring. After working hard all day, Cyrilla couldn't help but complain to Gretel. Greed was also so bored that one Buddha was born and two Buddhas ascended to heaven. After thinking about it, he had to find a job for himself. Oh, there are so many lead ores, they are all lead ores. How long will it take to turn into lead lumps? I don't know if throwing the lead ore directly into it can achieve the effect of extinguishing the nuclear reaction. Is it useful? Probably it will be. After all, whether lead appears as a simple substance or as a compound such as white lead, black lead, etc., lead atoms are always there. As long as the lead atoms are there, it should be able to absorb the neutrons emitted when uranium-235 fission. However, Greed first did not want to take risks. If you can use pure lead, use pure lead. Don't try to be smart. If the lead ore really fails and pure lead is needed, wouldn't it be a big mistake to get a lot of lead ore there? I have prayed 99 times, and I must not let anything happen to me. Secondly, he did not want Elder Fahim to work too hard. There is no doubt that if 100,000 tons of pure lead have to be transported, the lead ore will have to transport at least 200,000 tons, and probably more. How much does it cost to transport it from the main material realm to the elemental realm and back again? Instead of tormenting Elder Fahim, it is better to work hard to extract these lead ores on the production side. But Greed stood up straight and looked around. From the mine to the nearby mountain ridge, there were fires and smoke everywhere. Those are smelting sites one by one, concentrating their efforts to smelt the lead they need. To be fair, the local indigenous people's smelting technology is indeed unique. They have learned to use the constant strong wind on the mountain ridges to replace equipment such as bellows and blowers to increase heat and complete smelting. Even so, the lead that could be extracted was still only a fraction of what they needed. There is no way, the industrial power of this country is so limited. Although it is indeed a country that can smelt bronze and use bronze tools, it uses less than 100,000 tons of lead throughout the year. The temple and the royal family made urgent arrangements and tried their best, but so far, not even 1/10 of what they need has been achieved. Moreover, Gretel thought about the wood burned by smelting the lead and the nature that was destroyed, and there was a throbbing pain in his heart. He tugged on the chair beneath him to bring himself closer to the earth element. He picked up a piece of lead ore with his left hand, took out a heavy lead ingot with his right hand, and brought it to the earth element. To be honest, Greed knew almost nothing about mining and smelting. He had no idea what kind of compound this piece of lead ore was. Fortunately, this does not affect his communication with the earth element. Please do me a favor and extract all the lead from this ore and turn it into pure lead, can you? The earth element stretched out two round and fat arms, one on each side, and took it. There was a flash of yellow light between the left and right arms, and it squirmed to wrap around the thing Greed handed over, swallowing it up bit by bit. The yellow light on its body rippled softly, and the loess also swelled, shrank, swelled, and shrank, slowly swallowing the piece of lead ore and the lead ingot into its belly. After a while, a rumbling voice came from Greed's consciousness. I can do it. So, over there, where's that big pile? Gretel raised his head, waved his arm vigorously, drew a circle around the boss, and pointed at the hill made by senior brother Baebo. The earth element slowly turned around, and earth yellow waves spread along the ground. It took him a long time to answer. Okay. It's very tiring. I need to pay more. The reward is no problem. Gretel endured the pain and groaned, then pushed out another plate of gems. The earth element shook his body, touched the gem with his arm, and then took it back. Not enough. This is just a sample. You purify the whole pile and double it? It's still not enough. Hello. Don't go too far. Our budget, no, the pay we get from Kingdom of the Sun, is also limited. Gretel swallowed these words back and tried to bargain. Hey, can you make it a little cheaper? We can't do this kind of thing, we consume a lot of money, we must have enough remuneration, little magician, we like the aura on your body, and we are willing to cooperate with you, but work is work, such a big job must be paid. Can I ask, you earth elements, what is the use of gems? Greet asked curiously. If energy crystals were needed, he could still understand. After all, the consumption was so large that external energy was needed to make up for it. But what's the use of gems? These shiny little things. It's small, few in number, and lacking in energy. What's the point? Is it possible that the earth element also needs to exchange gems for money? The next moment, a large piece of information came to his mind crazily. Gretel had to hold his eyebrows and import this information into the core of meditation. After sorting it out, he finally understood. The advancement process of the earth element is a process of constantly refining and improving oneself. In this process, seeing all kinds of gems and seeing these rare and different gems will be of great help to them. Every gem is different. Every gem of the same kind is different. The more we see these hard, bright, and colorful treasures of the earth, the easier it will be for us to advance. That makes sense. Greet thought for a while and started to take out the space bag again. Actually, the essence of gems are just crystals composed of various elements. For example, ruby powder is what we use to make the eternal flame. It was later confirmed that aluminum oxide can be used instead. He took out the smallest, extremely dull ruby, a tiny bit sealed in a paper bag, less than a gram of ruby powder, and a similar amount of aluminum oxide powder. After demonstrating each one, he handed the ruby powder, alumina powder, and aluminum ingot, one by one, to the earth element. This time, the earth element remained silent for longer, and then suddenly stretched out his arm and put it on his hand. Your information is very useful to me, very useful, you are my friend. If something happens in the future, you can summon me by touching this mark. The yellow light flashed away, leaving a round yellow mark on the back of Greet's left hand, which sank into the skin and disappeared in an instant. Gretel felt the mark and raised his eyebrows happily. As long as it works. Hey, in that case, can we use less gems? No. A gem is a gem, every gem is different, not only what it is made of, but each one of it is different. The earth element spoke vaguely, but Gretel already understood. The reason why a gem is a gem lies not only in its elemental composition, but also in its crystal structure, the trace elements in it, and all aspects. The reason why the earth element wants to possess these gems is probably to study their crystal structure to make itself harder and more lustrous, right? A thought flashed through his mind. Opening the box, he took out a sapphire that was not very pure and had many cracks, and handed it to the earth element. Then, can you do me a favor? Remove the impurities from this gem, squeeze it tightly, and return it to me. As long as it is removed cleanly, I can give you 10 gems. Not long after, a sapphire the size of a dove egg, crystal clear and without any cracks, flashed with light and fell into Gretel's hand. Greet was overjoyed. This is the net profit. Having a good relationship with the earth element is like a gem printing machine. Please subscribe, ask for monthly tickets, ask for recommendation votes, ask for book reviews, ask for all kinds of. Everyone remember to leave book reviews. Although I haven't seen them at the front desk yet, the author can be seen in the background. Without book reviews, the author is so lonely. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geoland 2020. Chapter 1177. How much is a clear, transparent, pure, flawless, dove egg-sized sapphire worth? The answer is, priceless. This kind of gem is even enough to be inlaid on the king's crown and scepter. It has been passed down from generation to generation and will have the name of this gem in history. If you have to estimate it, probably, you can't buy it with 1 million gold coins. How much is a sapphire of the same size that is turbid, opaque, and has obvious cracks on it worth? Anyway, Gretel saw the magicians appraising it in the Eagle country. The price of such a gem would not exceed 1,000 gold coins. 1,000 times price difference. Moreover, the former is still priceless but not marketable. Make a lot of money. Greet immediately took out his space bag, touched 20 gems, lined them up, and asked the earth elemental to pick 10 of them. Observe carefully. The earth element chooses not the biggest one, nor the one with the best color, but the most special one. In other words, the earth element lord's most urgent need at this stage is to try his best to see various types of gems. Gretel silently kept this in mind, squatting beside him and accompanying the earth element in refining the ore for a day. That night, I quietly asked Master Baebo, "Brother, why don't you teach the earth elements and let them help purify gems? This is such a big way to make money. Suppose this method becomes popular and everyone knows it, we get a bunch of low-quality gems, give them to the earth element for purification, and then sell them to the glorious Holy See, and then plunder their wealth and gems in large quantities. A few cycles back and forth can wipe out their wealth." Archmage Baebo looked at the crystal clear and brilliant sapphire in his hand and was shocked. After listening to him explain the cause and effect, he sighed and raised his hand to knock on his forehead. "Do you think everyone is you?" "Well." Gretel covered his head and looked at his senior brother eagerly. Sirara sat next to him, looking at the gem in Gretel's hand eagerly, and listened to the lecture with Gretel. "First of all, do you think everyone is a loser and is liked by the earth element? The tasks for most earth elements, or most elemental creatures, when they come to the main material world are simple: work, get paid, and leave. Never say another word to the magician unless necessary. If you can chat with the earth element for a few words, you have defeated 90% of the magicians. Someone like Gretel, who can ask the earth element to do extra work, has defeated at least 99% of the magicians. Secondly, do you think that any earth element can do this kind of work? At least an earth element lord summoned by a high-level mage can learn this skill. Yes, the ratio of high-level mages to the entire number of mages is very rare. Once these two factors are superimposed, basically, the possibility of using the earth element to purify gemstones as a way to make money is very small. Again, even if you learn this, the probability of summoning the same earth element next time is pitifully small. If that earth element hadn't liked you and signed a contract with you, you would have to work harder next time to summon a new one. Teach him. Then, why don't they learn from each other?" Greet asked curiously. Archmage Baebo glanced at Gretel with an incomprehensible look. The elemental world is very large. Elemental creatures, especially elemental lords of the same level, live very far away from each other. Moreover, the elemental creature's concept of time is also different from ours. Why is it different? A lord of the earth element buries himself in the earth for 1,000 years, and then he just takes a nap. So, thousands of years may have passed for a piece of knowledge to spread from one earth element lord to another earth element lord? Gretel thought for a moment. This is a good thing. This means that converting gems will become my own business in a short period of time. Imagine carrying a Horadric cube with you. A broken gem becomes a cracked gem, a split gem becomes a whole gem becomes a flawless gem becomes a perfect gem. Well, not to mention enriching Cyrilla's jewelry box, that's more than enough. Greet made up his mind and turned around to find Udian. Idian, who is just a level 5 spellcaster and can't do much in summoning the earth element, is working conscientiously and shouldering the responsibility of bargaining with the temple. This is not enough at all. Precious metals and gems are the favorites of the earth element, and they cannot be used for other things. Don't count those alpaca cloaks and the like, the earth element does not want those things. Lack of gold and silver? Lack of precious stones. If the main temple is lacking, are other branch temples also lacking? The palace is also lacking, and the nobles are also lacking. It's not that we need it, it's that your sun god needs it. Your sun god says that the danger is approaching, and he wants to repair the injury as soon as possible. Without the sun god, you want to see the king be killed again and the capital be plundered again once. What? Blood sacrifice? Your sun god said that to completely cure his injury, he will sacrifice more than half of the people of the kingdom with blood. By then, without the people, the nobles will farm by themselves. Go mining by themselves. What is the most important thing? Think about it clearly. As long as the sun god lasts forever, gold, silver, gems, and wealth can always be accumulated slowly. If the sun god is gone, or if the people are gone, you are all finished. It has to be said that Udian, who has long been responsible for patrolling the forest, teaching the rainforest natives, and foreign exchanges and procurement responsibilities, is still quite good when it comes to talking. Supplemented by the coercion of half-step legend, the style of claiming to go to the sun god whenever they disagree. The elves were victorious. The temple of the sun was retreating steadily. Gold, silver, pearls, shells, conches, various gems, and all kinds of warcraft materials, piles and piles, formed a hill in front of Idian. Udian. Change me some gems. Greet took out a thumb-sized ruby and shook it in front of Idian. Here, help me replace some gems that are not in good condition. It doesn't matter if they are uneven or cracked, but they need to be big. They need to be rich in variety. I use these gems of good quality as your reward. Hey, you can just take whatever you want. Udian only glanced at it and turned away, continuing to sort and make books. These gems of different quality are worthless, just grab a handful of them. Greet rolled back a large box of gems. Of course, you can't just rely on the earth element to have a good impression of him, so you can force others to do it, and you need to have something else in exchange. Look, to see clearly the structure inside this gemstone, you can use a microscope, high brightness observation, low brightness observation, reflected light. You can also add a polarizer. You see, the elements in gems can be tested like this. The most convenient way is to burn the gem powder. There are several different flame reactions. The earth element wrote them down one by one, and took away the microscope provided by Gretel, saying it was very useful. Then, he helped Gretel convert a bunch of large and small gems. On the 10th day after Gretel returned to the capital of the Sun King, all mining and refining projects were completed. 100,000 tons of borax and 100,000 tons of lead were piled neatly in the square, waiting for transfer. In the mansion next to the square, Greet took out a box full of gems. From the size of soybeans, to the size of broad beans, to the size of pigeon eggs, each one is colorful and crystal clear. Push it forward and send it to Cyrilla. Come on, Cyrilla, all our rewards are here. You can keep the jewelry if you want, or you can sell one or two of them for gold, it's up to you. Inlaid jewelry. Sarala put down one piece and touched another, her eyes sparkling. Aren't the gold and silver used for inlaying jewelry, as well as the matching small gems, all added separately? How can you sell the gems? Please subscribe, ask for monthly tickets, ask for recommendation votes, ask for book reviews, ask for all kinds of. The book reviews haven't been released yet, but you can see them in the author's background. Please leave more reviews. There is a saying, this is what cats have friends do: buy a gemstone for a few thousand yuan, then add a few thousand yuan to buy gold or platinum, broken gemstones, and processing fees, set a ring or necklace or bracelet. Sometimes the extra ones cost more than buying gems. Catshock.jpg. Catshedstears.jpg. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geoland 2020. Chapter 1178. The square in front of the palace was once paved with white sand and filled with large gold and silver sculptures and pink conches. The square that was once filled with nobles and priests has completely changed its appearance now. Baskets of borax and ingots of lead were transported by the elves from various mines and piled into a hill in the center of the square. Gray-white borax was scattered on the square, sometimes blown up by the wind, sometimes falling down, making the whole square a little dirty. The gray-black lead ingots were unevenly sunk into the borax pile one by one, making the entire borax pile look even more twisted and strange. Coupled with the traffic and trampling of shoes, the entire solemn square looked like a pile of goods in a mine. But no one had any objections, and the several palaces surrounding the square, belonging to the current king and those belonging to several previous kings, closed their doors tightly. The thick, tall palace was silent, as if it were just a piece of gray boulder. They didn't dare to object. The sun, much stronger than the previous days, shone on the sacred royal square. From the pile of borax in the center to the grass in the ditch at the edge of the square, not an inch is missing. Although there is no god descending, the sun god also overlooks this place. Nothing that happens here escapes his gaze. Therefore, the king, who is the son of the sun, and the nobles who are said to have divine blood, dare not say a word. Let the elves pour borax and lead ingots, and try their best to pile it up, then collapse it, and then pile it up again. Let Elder Fahim clear a place, lead the students, and concentrate on drawing the summoning array. Hey, why do you have to choose this place? Greet stood far away and asked Archmage Baebo in a low voice. Seeing the indigenous nobles shrinking like this, he felt a little proud and a little pitiful about them. Wouldn't it be better to pile everything up in the mine? Isn't it possible that we can't find a big enough open space over there, as for having to confront the natives? The energy here is the most dense, and it takes the least effort to open the summoning array. Archmage Baebo answered intently, and at the same time gave Gretel a fierce look. Can't you feel this? Is your perception asleep? It's worse than your stick. That stick shook happily, and 12 green leaves rustled on the top of the oak stick. Well, it's not that I can't feel it, but I'm not used to scanning the surroundings with my senses on all the time. Gretel calmed down and spread out his mental power. Sure enough, he felt that the energy around him was extremely active. It must have been that sacrifices had been held here for a long time, and enough energy remained. Moreover, the personal attention of the sun god will also bring some power. Gretel thought maliciously. Perhaps, Elder Fahim chose this place to summon the earth element. On the one hand, he was showing his power to the local indigenous people. On the other hand, he also wanted to take advantage of the remaining power here. After all, transporting so many things consumes a lot of energy. Save a little if you can. During the low-pitched discussion, Elder Fahim finally completed the drawing of the summoning array, held his staff in both hands, and began to chant. The voice goes from calm to high-pitched, the clothes are fierce, the beard and hair are windless. Gradually, a yellow light filled the square, from light to thick, from point to surface. Greet felt a tightness in her chest and subconsciously took a step back. Isn't it right? If the earth element is condensed to a certain extent, can it naturally enhance gravity? Stand still. Behind him, a hand held his back and pushed him forward slightly. Rosia came to Gretel's side at some point. This elf spellcaster who rarely talks much rarely talks a lot. Let go of your perception and your heart. You are the darling of nature. As long as you can integrate with nature, you should not feel any pressure. Gretel nodded to her gratefully, relaxed his mind, and allowed himself to immerse himself in nature. The breeze in the square, the green grass in the ditch, the earth under your feet. Soon, everything around him began to respond to him and support him. Gretel breathed a sigh of relief, without even noticing it. He stood straighter in the square and his chest was no longer tight. Archmage Baebo nodded gratefully to the elf caster, took half a step forward, stood next to Gretel, and continued to look at the summoning array in front of him. The legendary master took action, and it was indeed extraordinary. Before the earth element came out of the summoning array, the yellow light in the square had already condensed like a thick city wall. Greet reached out and touched it, and then touched it again. Even though there was still a void in front of him, the touch of his fingertips felt like it was stirring in a swamp, and it felt like it was passing through thick loess. The yellow light reached its limit and suddenly stopped. Then, the ground shook like waves, and a roar that did not shake the air, but was earth-shattering, exploded in everyone's hearts. Buzz. Greet's whole body swayed, holding onto the oak staff with both hands to prevent him from falling down. What's this? When this earth element appeared, did it have its own infrasound? Oh, it seems that during an earthquake, infrasound waves will indeed spread. He stabilized his body and looked forward. The yellow light that filled the square has converged to the extreme. A huge, almost great elemental creature is standing up in the center of the summoning array. Compared to the earth elemental elder summoned by Luja to Porborux, and compared to the earth elemental lord summoned by Greet, this earth elemental is a lot bigger. Just standing there, the three-story indigenous palace next to him didn't even reach his waist. Elemental King. Behind him, Archmage Baebo sighed, just like talking in a dream. As a legend, who hasn't signed a few elemental kings, Elder Fahim's voice with a smile sounded in Greet's heart again. Alas, for such an elemental king, just standing here, a slightly lower level existence, would be difficult just to stand. Let alone take action, what can he use to fight against the elemental king? Forget about the warrior, basically just trim its toes. The mage, how many of the mage's spells can cause damage to such a large earth elemental king? Gretel subconsciously touched the space bag. With a sizzle, the lightning kitten jumped out, huddled up on his head, and twisted his hair into a bird's nest. You are also an element inspired by the teacher, right? Is it the elemental commander or the elemental lord? Don't you feel like an elemental king? Gretel raised his hand and touched the silver hair on the lightning kitten, thinking secretly. In the square, the earth elemental king lowered his head and communicated with Elder Fahim for a while, and then he jumped down and merged into the hill of Borax and lead ingots. And 100 miles away, two hooded travelers in a hurry stopped together on the ridge. So strong. What kind of fluctuation is it, so strong? What happened to those fleeing natives? Did the false god invite reinforcements? Please subscribe, ask for monthly tickets, ask for recommendation votes, ask for book reviews, ask for all kinds of. It is said that book reviews will not start until next month. Please bear with me, please continue to leave comments these days, the author can be seen backstage. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geolan 2020. Chapter 1179. Chapter 1176. Gretel, you are a natural darling, people are so irritating. The Earth Element King steps out of the wave of the summoning array and spreads outward along the earth, wave after wave, reaching far and wide. Greet and the others who were standing closest could only feel the ripples passing over their bodies and quickly disappearing. And just a few dozen seconds later, a foreign traveler hundreds of miles away also felt the obvious vibration. The two stood side by side, facing the endless mountains to the south, silently feeling the sense of power coming from the vibration. After a long time, they looked at each other and saw deep surprise and worry in each other's eyes. Is it a legend? It should be a legend, right? It's not a legend. How could there be such strong fluctuations even though we are so far away? I gonna go see. The first traveler to speak was about to fly into the sky as soon as he pressed the hilt of his sword. Only 2 feet off the ground, he was pulled down by his companion. You don't want your life. If you are really a legend, the other party can just reach out and shoot you to death. We are only responsible for exploration, don't throw your life here, fighting the legend, that is the matter of the legend. The two tightened their clothes, pressed down their hoods, and continued to move forward on the mountain ridge. The level 15 Heavenly Knight ran as hard as he could, and with one step he could cross a distance of tens of meters. Although priests of the same level do not have such strong physical strength, they have more ways to assist themselves. Go forward side by side with your companions and never fall behind. However, as they ran, the speed of the two of them slowed down in unison. Maybe it hasn't come to this yet. Perhaps that legend is here to fight against the false gods. Whether it is or not, in short, we have to go slowly. If we are involved in the battle, it will be unjust to die. That's right, we have to wait for the fluctuations ahead to calm down a bit. Besides, when we are running like this, there is too much movement, so we have to be quiet. A new legend may appear on the other side, and this is something that must be investigated clearly. With 2 legends on our side facing off against a demigod, they should have a chance of winning by surprise. However, if the other party adds another legend, that's another matter. Even if it's for his own life, he has to figure out what the new legend is about. However, since it is for your own life, there is no need to rush into the legend when it declares its existence. They slowed down and moved on steadily. 1 hilltop, 2 hilltops, walking in the direction of the waves. The more we walked, the heavier our footsteps became. The further we walked, the more stuffy our chest became. It's the power of the earth element. Yes, a very powerful earth power, the entire mountain range is echoing its power. They were extremely vigilant and moved forward cautiously. In the royal capital square, Gretel and others standing nearby felt the power of the Earth Element King more intuitively. What a powerful force! Archmage Baebo bent his knees slightly, and his feet had sunk deeply into the dust on the ground. He looked solemn, unfolded his mental power, and sensed everything around him. With it as the center, to me, and then at least 100 meters away, all the elements are suppressed, only the earth element is still active, and the earth element is all under its control and cannot be adjusted at all. Move. What does that mean? This means that as long as it is a mage, it is completely impossible to fight. If you attack at close range, you will not be able to cast spells at all. If you attack from a distance, if the condensed elements enter its control circle, it will be completely ineffective. Is this, the king of the earth element? It feels completely different from the teacher's attack. He glanced at Gretel subconsciously. To his surprise, Gretel held the oak staff in both hands, stood upright, and his face was actually more relaxed than him. The uncomfortable feeling of being deprived of control over the elements, the heavy weight, seemed not to be weighing on him at all. How do you feel? Can you cast spells? Archmage Baebo asked softly. Gretel was stunned for a moment and nodded. Okay. Good. It's okay, the earth, water, wind, and plants are all willing to respond to me. Greet replied dreamily, his eyes seemed to have lost focus, and he looked into the distance through the oak staff. Although it's not necessary, they are working, we don't need to disturb them, just watch. But actually you can still cast spells if you want to, right? Well, this is the natural priest, nature loves you, and the natural elements are taking care of you, can you stop showing off? Archmage Baebo grinned at his teeth, ended this topic, and continued to work hard to understand the fluctuations ahead. As a member of the Plastic Energy Department, Earth elements are not his main research direction, but looking more and gaining more insights will also have the effect of drawing parallels. In particular, the person taking action from the front was an Earth Elemental King, standing on top of the elemental creatures. When the Elemental King came over, it seemed that he did not bring his own body with him, but took shape with the power gathered by Elder Fahim. So, he pounced down and sank directly into the borax and lead ingots. The whole hill gently undulated and trembled. On the ground, the borax particles blown far away by the mountain wind were thrown into the hill one by one under the pull of an invisible force. The mountains of sand and gravel shrank and condensed, and the borax that was originally loosely piled up seemed to be kneaded by a big hand and kneaded tightly into a ball. After the kneading was completed, the entire ore pile began to squirm quietly. The lead ingots thrown down from basket to basket and cart to cart naturally flowed in the borax and dispersed evenly. In Archmage Baebo's perception, it was like a large, round dough, with a large handful of raisins scattered evenly into every corner. Finally, the dough stretches, splits, and stretches again. An earth element giant condensed from yellow dust turned into a huge, shining existence like an earthworm. One arch after another, squirming forward in the direction of the summoning array. Ah, I thought I would see a giant. Behind Gretel, the silver dragon girl made a disappointed sound. But this saves the most effort, isn't it? The green leaves rustled on the head of the oak stick, and Greet turned his head halfway, saying with a smile. If you make it into a giant, it will be very tall, very, very tall, the strength required to support the entire body is terrifying. Borax cannot support it, so you can only use magic power to make up for it, even if the elder is strong enough, magic power cannot be wasted, right? But this insect is so ugly. Sirara swallowed the disgusting words back in her stomach. The Earth Elemental King is right in front, and it will definitely not be happy if it hears it, so why bother? Greet smiled and patted her. However, even with this shape, if you hit it head on, the force is still very strong, if you are hit by it or swallowed by it, you will die. A whirlpool-like ring opened in front of the earth element. The whole body was shaking regularly, squirming and stirring. The entire visual effect looks just like the sandworm boss in Dune. It is particularly shocking when viewed up close. The front half of it has already swam to the summoning formation, while the back half is still in the ore pile and has no shape. He raised his head slightly and plunged into the summoning array. The summoning array fluctuated violently, then gradually slowed down. The ore sandworm squirmed and shrank, passing through the formation section by section. Finally, the square was clean. Except for the traces of borax and lead ingots rubbing against the stone surface, all the minerals accumulated on it had disappeared. Please subscribe, ask for monthly tickets, ask for recommendation votes, ask for book reviews, ask for all kinds of. It is said that book reviews will not start until next month, please bear with me, please continue to leave comments these days, the author can be seen backstage. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geolan 2020. Chapter 1180. After the Earth Elemental King finished his work, Greet and his party boarded the airship that day and returned to the center of the rainforest. Anyway, The airship is piloted by Archmage Baebo, and Elder Fahim, and everyone else can sleep on it. Well, it would be great to have enough rest and plunge into the hinterland of the forest to slowly restore energy and magic surrounded by the natural atmosphere. This time, the High Priest of the Sun Temple personally held the sun disk and squeezed into the airship. What? The airship is too crowded. It's enough to curl up in a corner, and even better if you have a seat. Of course, it's best not to sit with the sun goddess, and you don't even have to touch her. It's better to stay away from the sun god's concubine, and not for mortals. Blasphemy. What? No one to serve you. For the sun god, the harder it is, the harder it is. If you have hands and feet, you can't do anything by yourself. What? Are you afraid that after such a trip, the power of the temple will fall into the hands of others? What a joke! As long as God's favor is still with you, no one dares to take away his power. In short, the high priest desperately squeezed into the airship and occupied a position, intending to witness the descent of the sun god, heal his injuries, and be promoted again. Of course, that doesn't stop him from accompanying Smiley and asking around. How long will it take for us to get there this time? At least half a month, Yudian replied calmly with a sullen face. It is said that it only takes about 10 days for the airship to travel, but who knows if the elder has recovered? Who knows how much time it will take for the elders to adjust to their best condition and cope with the next call, and possible changes in the elf forest. After all, the sun god is not one of their own. If they make a fuss in the secret realm, the elders need to have the ability to control the other party. It is nerve-wracking. The companions of Yangju Island cannot arrive within a month or two, so they have to rely on them for everything. Elders top. The high priest observed his words and shrank back. He looked around and asked Luoxia. Beautiful ladies, are you satisfied with the gifts that the temple has prepared for you? Among the specialties of the kingdom, what other specialties do you ladies and gentlemen want? No. Luoxia glanced at him and answered lightly. Gretel was holding back her laughter. It's not good to ask anyone, but this taciturn female spellcaster, even if you ask the elder's disciple Anari Linji, or AI11 Yusong, you can talk a few more words. Oh, these two are sitting a little far away and are chatting with the sun goddess. Why don't you go over and interrupt? Before his smile faded, the high priest turned and ran towards him. He still has an old face with a bright smile, and there are clusters of wrinkles on his face, all piled up, and he does not look down upon him because of his low rank. Mr. Gretel, are you and your companions satisfied with these gifts? Are there any other specialties that you need or particularly want? Gretel glanced quickly at Cyrilla. Miss Silver Dragon was whispering to several female elves, laughing as she spoke. Her laughter was clear and her smile was as bright as a flower. Well, if it were her, she would definitely say, gold, gold, silver and jewelry. However, the kingdom's wealth is endless, and the silver dragon's needs are endless. Gretel thought for a while, crossed out this item, and nodded respectfully to the high priest. According to our agreement, the temple has already paid us enough, and we shouldn't covet anything more. However, I have a small personal request. Ah, you say. I will do it for you. The high priest breathed a sigh of relief. Although this young nature walker has the lowest power, he is the one who can best speak in front of the sun god. He was the first to talk to the sun god, and he was also the one who had many discussions and even bargains with the sun god. Based on this, as long as he did not plan to demolish the temple and empty the temple warehouse, the high priest decided that he could give him anything he wanted. Oh, except the sun goddess. However, this one already has a female companion, so why not ask for the goddess again? It's like this. When we first arrived in your country, we settled in a noble manor named Iamank, Greet said slowly. That night, we witnessed his youngest daughter, the one who was 8 or 9 years old, Being chosen as the Virgin of the Sun, she had to be separated from her family at a young age. Is it possible for her to leave the temple and go back to be with her? With your family? What do I care about? The high priest immediately breathed a sigh of relief. To be honest, not everyone chosen by the temple can be a sun virgin. Some of those chosen women will become the concubines of kings, some will become wives of nobles and warriors, and some will become priestesses of temples. Only these people are sun virgins in the usual sense. And the last part will become a sacrifice. The recent large-scale selection of sun virgins is because the sun god senses a crisis and wants to ask for more sacrifices. The blood of gods flows in the bodies of nobles, and they have more power, making them better sacrifices than ordinary people. And if this operation can be successful and the sun god can recover from his injuries, there will be no need for a large-scale blood sacrifice. Even if it fails, it will not matter if there is just one little girl, one more or one less. There is no need to ask the oracle, he can immediately agree. I will give an order when I get back and ask them to send the girl back, he answered without hesitation. The corners of Gretel's eyes curved slightly, and a smile flowed. Thank you very much. On the opposite side, Cyrilla turned back, her eyebrows curved. The silver dragon girl gave him a thumbs up and gave him a generous gesture of praise. Greet laughed happily. Well, he actually wants a batch of local specialty plants, such as various potatoes, various corns, various medicinal plants, magic plants, and special plants. After collecting them, let the senior brother take them back to Nevis and give them to the nature priests to look at. Apart from anything else, if there are many varieties of potatoes and they cross each other, a wave of potato diseases will not be wiped out on the spot. But it's not too late to mention this later. As long as the sun god successfully heals his injury, I don't believe that the sun god can refuse to agree when he opens his mouth. Now, let's settle the matter of the elf secret realm first. The airship moved forward. The elves guide the way, and the flying monsters flap their wings to lead the way. On the road during the day and resting at night, Elder Fahim always leaned on a cane and sat under the largest ancient tree, breathing in the breath of the forest and nature. Every day that passes, his face becomes rosier. Every night that passes, the magic power he consumes when summoning the earth element increases. When he returned to the outpost and under the canopy-like ancient tree, the solid aura on the elder's body was no different from before he set off. And when he walked into the contaminated area and stood in front of the secret realm, his body was burning with flames and he was breathing naturally. The grass grows, the flowers bloom, the scorched land regains life, the rabbit retracts its claws, and the crow loses its fangs and lies quietly around them. And those twisted and gloomy auras didn't even dare to come within a few miles of him. Let's begin. The old man leaned on crutches and looked into the secret realm, his eyes showing endless sadness and expectation. This time, maybe, this wound engraved in the secret realm of elves and in the hearts of every elves can really be healed so slightly. Greet, come up here and watch me draw the summoning array, Elder Fahim greeted without looking back. After a pause, I heard no movement, and then looked back. Gretel is using his hands and feet to crawl out of the thick stone bunker. Please subscribe, ask for monthly tickets, ask for recommendation votes, ask for book reviews, ask for all kinds of. It is said that book reviews will not start until next month. Please bear with me, please continue to leave comments these days. The author can be seen backstage. There are only the last few days. Everyone, leave your monthly tickets to me. Try to start voting on the 29th. Thanks to Yamengbing for the 3,465 starting coins. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geolan 2020. Chapter 1181. Elder Fahim. Gretel. An old man and a young man looked at each other dozens of meters apart. After a while, Elder Fahim raised his hand and waved. A soft breeze gently swirled out, condensed on Greet's forehead, and knocked a chestnut with a snap. "Why are you running? Why are you running away? Am I here, and I can't protect you?" Elder Fahim was angry and funny. "This place is close to the secret realm, and the energy interference is very strong. Drawing the summoning circle here requires a lot of transformations. Why not learn more now? Come here. Also, what did you look like just now? Not to mention turning into a leopard. Even if you turn into a bear, you can still crawl faster than using your hands and feet like this." Gretel grimaced, covered his forehead, and walked forward step by step. "Why are you beating me? I've become accustomed to it. The last time I squatted in the bunker and watched the men working, no one took me out." Even so, he also knew that Elder Fahim had good intentions. Such a profound summoning circle, such a rare transformation of the circle, may not be seen once in 100 years. Elder Fahim really regarded him as one of his own, so he called him to his side, held his hand, and taught him in detail. "Look, senior brother Baebo, isn't he just huddled in the bunker he dug last time, consciously avoiding suspicion? Although he is not a summoning expert, and he may not be able to learn it after just one look, but remembering it and thinking about it slowly will always be helpful in the future." Greet stood beside Elder Fahim, listening hard, memorizing hard, recording hard. "Send the patterns on the ground, the order of drawing each line, every deformation and every word spoken by the elder into the meditation core and store it." Feeling that this was not enough, he raised his hand and released a secret eye, flying up, moving left and right, constantly looking for a position. Elder Fahim said curiously, "What are you doing? Isn't this right? If you stand on the side and look at it, will the formation diagram you see be deformed?" Gretel said confidently. "There is a secret eye looking directly above, and the array pattern traced out is the one with the most correct shape and no deformation at all. Well, aerial photography without a drone is the same with the arcane eye." Elder Fahim was so angry that he laughed. He casually wiped it on his body, took out a bamboo tube, and patted it into Greet's hand. "Take it." Gretel pulled out the stopper and took it out to see that it was a magic circle pattern drawn on an unknown animal skin. The edges of the graphics are densely lined with text, marking the meanings of various lines and runes. If you look closely, you will see that the ink is deep and light, thick and light, and it has obviously been taken out and annotated many times. The animal hide is tough and strong, with a faint magical halo flowing on it, but the edges are a little burnt and brittle. How long had the hide been preserved to produce such an effect? Hundreds of years? Thousands of years? Or, thousands of years? Gretel held the magic array diagram in his hand in awe, not daring to move for a while. He stood frozen for a moment, then looked up at Elder Fahim. "Is this for me?" The elder suddenly laughed. He raised his hand, and Gretel shrank his neck reflexively, then froze with all his strength. The hand fell on his head, rubbed his hair, and made it into a bird's nest. "Little guy, you are an elf and a human, you belong to the forest and to Nevis. We all see the efforts you have made for the secret realm. It's just a summoning array map, you can take it back, it does not matter." Gretel's shoulders suddenly relaxed. He raised his head, smiled gratefully at Elder Fahim, rolled up and retracted the formation diagram. "Stand next to the elder, prick up your ears, and continue to listen to his lecture." Archmage Baebo also stood up. He bowed slightly to Elder Fahim to express his gratitude. The elder is willing to give this formation map. On the one hand, it is because of Gretel's contribution, and on the other hand, it is because Nevis does not lack the summoning formation to summon the Elemental King. Of course, even if you already have it, even if you don't suddenly get strategic materials, you can draw parallels by comparing these technologies with each other. This love is important, and little Gretel's contribution must also be accounted for. Besides that, the most beneficial thing for him was that he saw that the elder's tolerance was far wider than he had thought before. From now on, he can listen and measure openly. This time, the appearance of the Earth Element King was not as grand as last time. When he poked his head out of the summoning array, it landed almost silently and gently on the land of the elf forest. It supported its body with its head and squirmed outward. When the back piece fell to the ground, the front piece had quietly scattered and turned into borax and lead ingots. Then, it squirmed outward again. Section by section, it slowly poked out, and finally, with a crash, it dispersed into a hill of borax and lead ingots. A faint yellow light flew up in the middle, circled twice in front of Elder Fahim, and lightly rubbed against his hand a few times. Ah, so intimate. Gretel made a small, envious sound. On the left, Archmage Baebo, who had been busy taking measurements, replied to him without raising his head. Being affectionate is still affectionate, but you still have to get money. Before he finished speaking, yellow light rolled up a pile of gold, silver, and gems on the ground, turned around and flew back to the summoning array. The head plunged into the summoning array, and the tail quickly spun in a circle, watching the lines and runes disappear one after another along the spinning trajectory, and fell into the center of the array. Gretel! Why are you licking the plate? No matter what, whether it was eating, taking it, or licking the plate, the Earth Elemental King did everything he had to do. According to the calculations of Annery Ling and Luja respectively, 100,000 tons of lead ingots and 100,000 tons of borax are not much heavier in terms of density and volume. Next, is the last step. Throw these ores into the elven secret realm to extinguish the eternal flames in the mines. It's about to begin. Elder Fahim took a long breath, and his old and tired eyes showed a bit of passion. Thousands of years, many generations of guardianship, and many elves coming forward to bury their bones here. Will it finally come to fruition in his generation? It's about to begin. The high priest held the heavy gold plate in his hands, his arms trembling a little. Whether the sun god can recover, whether he can regain his strength, and whether he can withstand the despicable invaders depends on this wave. If it can't be completely cured, then, no wonder, we still need to ask these nature walkers to help defend against the invaders. I don't know if they are willing to help. If they are willing to help, can the kingdom afford the price? It's about to begin. Archmage Baebo speeded up and counted the instruments he carried this time. Heck, I didn't expect that I would need to measure a demigod this time. The instruments he brought over are not enough. Can the things that have been temporarily modified and rubbed out in the past few days be able to withstand it? Is there anything else that needs to be adjusted? Please subscribe, ask for monthly tickets, ask for recommendation votes, ask for book reviews, ask for all kinds of. It is said that book reviews will not start until next month. Please bear with me, please continue to leave comments these days, the author can be seen backstage. There are only the last few days. Everyone, leave your monthly tickets to me. Try to start voting tomorrow. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geolan 2020. Chapter 1182. How to measure a sun god. In other words, how to measure a demigod-level indigenous god. To be fair, the Magic Council does not have no accumulation of technology in this area. Those legends who have been wandering in different spaces will encounter demigods, false gods, and totem gods from time to time. Those who claim to be gods do not know what they are. Whether it is self-protection or challenge, they all need some measurement methods. For the legends stationed locally, it is not impossible to challenge a demigod. Just a while ago, in order to provide disaster relief in the year without summer, didn't I just kill one? If you want to kill, you must first explore. The most reliable way to detect is to measure. Not to mention, the glorious cult is the greatest enemy of magicians. When the glorious Holy See attacks with all its strength, the strongest attack is generally evaluated as true god level, followed by demigod level, legendary level. Each level has a corresponding value. As a high-level mage who has already entered the realm of legend, Archmage Baebo is not unfamiliar with this. However, when he came here this time, the instruments he brought were all for measuring the secret realm of elves. In other words, it is used to measure the numerical changes in radiation within the elven secrets. Used to measure the sun god, these things are not suitable for professionals. Archmage Baebo touched here and there, racking his brains, and by the way, he also rubbed part of it with his magic hand of the transformation system, and finally managed to assemble a set of usable equipment. As to the extent to which these devices would be useful, he had no confidence at all. Greet stood next to him and gave him a hand. Seeing that his hair was pulling out his hair in worry, he couldn't help but give him some advice. How about, I discuss it with the sun god. Tell him to let him separate a ray of light and keep it shining on the instrument, and you can just keep measuring this light. Archmage Baebo. That's God, that's God. Although he is not a true god, he is still a demigod. In the past, the parliament would do this kind of measurement either secretly or everyone would swarm in and beat the person being measured until he cooperated with the experiment. Look what this guy said, I'll discuss it with the sun god. You are amazing for being able to talk to the sun god. Well, that's really amazing. All in all, after Gretel's communication with the high priest of the sun god, and the communication between the high priest and the sun god, when the sun god officially arrived, a ray of light really shined on the pendulum of Archmage Baebo. On the instrument that comes out. Through the glass, it is divided into 7 and long ribbons are pulled out. In front of Archmage Baebo, on the light screen projected by the core of the mage tower, there were 7 color bands, as well as the 2 parts outside the head and tail of the color band, and the readings jumped up crazily. Archmage Baebo looked serious. Elder Fahim and the row of elves standing behind him all looked serious. A strange god is coming to the center of the elven secret realm. Even if he has no ill intentions and is just moving borax and lead ingots and mixing them into the veins, the powerful energy he carries may also affect the seal of the secret realm. And, if he is a little malicious, or simply wants to try his hand, then the only thing that can stop him is the seal here that has been broken many times and reinforced many times. No matter what happens, Elder Fahim and them must use all their strength to deal with it. Here we go. Elder Fahim groaned. The old man breathed deeply, letting his mind be as clear as possible, resonating with the surrounding nature and the surrounding forest, and preparing to borrow their power. Here we go. Anari Ling, Luoxia, and other elf spellcasters who came from nearby, everyone tensed up. If something really happens, Elder Fahim is the main force, but they must also help to deal with it as soon as possible. Idion took a step across, stood in front of Elder Fahim, and pressed the elf moon blade around his waist. Ashuej looked around and sat down on the spot. I'm going to the Emerald Dream to have a look. As he spoke, he closed his eyes, breathed lightly and evenly, and soon fell into the Emerald Dream. In the spiritual world, in the boundless forest, a brilliant sun has descended. The sun god has arrived. Through the guidance of the sun disk and the call of the high priest, he descended on the sun goddess who stood upright outside the elven secret realm. The sun goddess's whole body was covered with a layer of golden light, and her hair naturally floated up, and the golden light shot out. Just when Greet was wondering whether the sun goddess would take it upon herself to shovel the borax, the golden light left her body and condensed into a ball. He jumped onto the borax hill. The borax and lead ingots seemed to be picked up by a pair of invisible hands and crossed the barrier outside the elven secret realm. Rustling, falling on the burning veins, deep into the center of the veins as the earth shakes. This work efficiency is a bit low. Gretel thought to himself. In this wave, up to 10 tons of ore were thrown in, and when spread on the veins, there was not even a single splash. The important thing is, 200,000 tons of ore, 10 tons of ore, when should it be thrown away? Fortunately, the sun god is just testing the waters this time. After the first transfer of 10 tons, the second time was 20 tons, 50 tons, 100 tons, increased in sequence. Greet breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it only takes 2,000 times to transport 100 tons or 200,000 tons at a time. Assuming that it is transported once every 10 minutes, all the work can be completed in 14 days. There is still about half a month left before the winter solstice mentioned by the sun god, or the summer solstice in the northern hemisphere, for it to adjust and recover. Work harder. Improve work efficiency even more. Increase to 200 tons, 500 tons, 1,000 tons each time. By the way, the sun god is the god of light and heat, not the earth element. He transports ore and stirs the earth. Wouldn't it be bad at it? Will it require too much power? Could it be that before the world's gifts are fully exhausted, I will tire myself to death first? Greet looked at his senior brother hesitantly. Archmage Baebo stared at the readings on the light screen with a serious expression. The readings are going down, not fast, but they are going down. As for the proportion of decline, or how high the reading of the sun god's power reaches its highest point, or how much the sun god's power declines, the injury will be unable to be suppressed. Whether you ask Archmage Baebo or the mobile tower spirit, there is only one answer to this question. There is too little data to confirm. However, in another distant place, someone has already made a judgment. The Glory Knight and Glory Priest, who disguised themselves and sneaked into the kingdom of the sun, stood in a remote temple with corpses strewn everywhere, staring at the ever-burning lamp in front of the statue. The aura of the false gods is fading. Yes, it has been weakening for several days. Sure enough, the false god attacked by the holy power will sink deeper into hell no matter how hard he struggles. Report to the archbishop. Report to the governor. That false god is weak and is about to die. Attack with the entire army to seize the country occupied by the remnants of the false god. Please subscribe, ask for monthly tickets, ask for recommendation votes, ask for book reviews, ask for all kinds of. It is said that book reviews will not start until next month. Please bear with me, please continue to leave comments these days, the author can be seen backstage. There are only the last few days. Everyone, leave your monthly tickets to me. Try to start voting tomorrow. Buy a new book. This player has hundreds of millions of sins. Unlimited streaming of original copies, Alligato. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geolan 2020. Chapter 1183. Chapter 1180 Sun God, I'm about to be burned to death, I'm exhausted, I can't do it anymore. The two leading soldiers who went deep into the kingdom of the sun to investigate, the level 15 Radiant Knight and the level 15 Radiant Priest looked at each other, turned around and left. They have been delayed here for almost a month. The summer solstice or the winter solstice here is not far away, and the best time to attack the false gods is not far away either. Send the message back as quickly as possible. Then, use the highest speed to push the army of the Lord of Glory, the army of the governor's mansion, and the servants of the local indigenous people over as quickly as possible. Kill the false gods, kill the local strong men, and annex this fertile land. They both leapt up, reaching their highest speed, and turned into a stream of light and headed north. There was silence below, and no one was flying to stop him. All temples have received orders from the chief priest of the main temple to close their doors and pray with all their strength. Nobles, their families, and all powerful men with the power of the sun god flowing in their blood have also prayed with all their strength under the organization of the temple. The great sun god has reached the most critical moment. Success or failure depends on this. All people who believe in the sun god, worship the sun god, and whose power comes from the sun god, pray with all your strength. Use your beliefs and songs to provide strength to the sun god. False gods are false gods. Reverend Guanghui looked down at the dotted lights on the mountains and sneered disdainfully. Observing with spiritual eyes, the divine flame flowing on the temple became weaker and weaker. Hypocritical sun god, a despicable existence that claims to possess the brilliance of the sun. You are vulnerable to the power of the Lord of Glory. No matter how many false praises and false worships there are, it is impossible for you to become even stronger. The hypocritical sun god is struggling. It was faster than greed expected, or in other words, the sun god became more and more skilled and efficient in transporting ore time and time again. The quantity transported each time went from 100 tons to 200 tons, and soon it reached 500 tons. It's not that there can't be more, but that a section of mineral vein can only hold so much ore. Cut off veins, transport ore, spill and stir. Throwing 500 tons of borax and lead into a small section of burning ore vein is the most efficient solution. No matter how much, the flames in the veins will be too big, and the fire extinguishing efficiency will not be high. After repeated tossing and trying, Sun God adjusted the quantity of each shipment to 500 tons. Once it was transported, Elder Fahim and others followed it forward a section, and unlocked such a small section of the seal of the Elven secret realm. Piece after piece, piece after piece. Looking down from the sky, the secret realm of Elves, which was always bright even in the night sky, gradually dimmed. Those wounds that opened in the earth, and in those wounds, there were flames that had been rolling for thousands of years. The fields where Elves grow herbs, the forests where they wander and sing, the gardens where they date. Although those burned, destroyed, withered, and twisted places have not yet recovered, the flames have at least been extinguished. Elder Fahim led the young elves and walked slowly among them, his old face full of nostalgia and sadness. Thousands of years. For the first time, in this secret realm of elves, I saw the hope of being saved and healed. Gretel was not allowed to enter the secret realm. Of course, he didn't want to go in unless he had to, or if someone held a knife to his neck. He squatted in the bunker outside the secret realm, leaning against the light screen in front of senior brother Baebo, looking left and right. It seems to be getting weaker. Yeah, it's getting weaker and weaker. Archmage Baebo raised his hand and dialed twice, called up a number, and compared it back and forth twice. Turning his head, he looked at Greet with some confusion. What gift from the world are you talking about? Is it really good? Is it really in time? I think it is very tired. The sun god was indeed exhausted. Even if it is 200,000 tons of ore, it needs to be wrapped up with the power of nothingness, transported dozens of miles away, and then put into the veins for stirring. The consumption is not a small amount. The key is, professionalism is not appropriate. It's not the earth element. The earth element attracts ores and controls the ores, that's instinctive, but for him, it's purely through brute force. The power consumption is doubled and doubled. Moreover, during the process of stirring the veins, he had to endure the burning all the time. The burning was so painful, although he was the god in charge of light and heat and had some resistance to burning, it still hurt. Is this, the power of the real Sunday? Virakaka, the sun god, tried hard to endure the burning, and tried again and again to carry the ore to the elven secret realm. There are indeed gifts from the world, but they are not many. The trickling rain fell on him like light rain, which could only slightly moisten his burning pain. As for the kind of large gifts, the kind that can directly advance an earth element, the sun god has been working hard for a long time and has not seen it yet. Work harder, it's coming soon. The little guy who tempted him over came to encourage him every time he came back to transport things. As long as the world's gifts are always there, as for the big ones, you may need to go to the secret realm to heal them all and settle them together. It would definitely be the same for me. Give a big one in the first transaction, then settle it slowly, and finally give another wave big. Virakaka, the sun god, thought so too. It went back and forth in waves, carried again and again, and finally, in the entire elven secret realm, only the blazing flame on the top of the central mountain remained. Just looking at it made him tremble and fear from deep inside. That was what he had seen since the first moment of his consciousness, a splendor as powerful as 1,000 suns. There is no way out. Rush. Virakaka, the sun god, struggled to roll up the mineral sand on the ground, turned it into a ball of misty gray light, and rushed upward. In the bunker behind, Gretel looked at the image on the light screen and prayed silently. Come on. You must work hard. During the Chernobyl nuclear power plant accident that year, more than 600 Soviet pilots flew helicopters around the clock, making thousands of shuttles and dumping 5,000 tons of a mixture of borax, lead, etc. into the reactor. Most of them died in pain soon after receiving large doses of radiation, or suffered from leukemia, cancer, etc., and struggled in pain for a long time. But this time, the elves made it. It is said that they were purifying the well of eternity and wanted to cultivate more powerful elves. In the end, they blew it up. Such a huge reactor core built on a natural mine, how much borax should be thrown in? 5,000 tons is probably not enough. 10,000 tons. 50,000 tons is enough. Fortunately, the indigenous sun god was tricked into doing the hard work. Otherwise, if the elves were allowed to do the work, God knows how many people would die and how many would get sick. Sun god, work harder. An extraordinarily huge cloud of borax and lead rumbled up, aimed at the pillar of fire, and pressed down overwhelmingly. The moment it came into contact with the central pillar of fire, even Gretel, who was far away from the secret realm, heard an extremely tragic wail. Take it easy, boss. You are injured. Don't throw yourself into the pillar of fire. Or, are you considering baking the scars left by the glorious holy sea on your body with radioactive flames? Virakaka, the sun god, is tougher than Greet imagined. The borax and lead cloud rolled slightly in the pillar of fire, and a yellow light rose from it and turned outside the secret realm. Soon, another large lead cloud enveloped it. Although, that yellow light has completely turned to bronze. Without looking at the numbers on his senior brother's light screen, Gretel could see that it was extremely weak with his naked eyes. End of month sprint time. End of month sprint time. Everyone, please vote hard. The target for this vote request is 1,300 votes. As long as 1,300 votes are reached, 6 additional chapters will be updated next month. It is said that book reviews will not start until next month. Please bear with me. Please continue to leave comments these days. The author can be seen backstage. Thank you to @Gwogiwogiwogiwogiwo for the reward of 4,500 starting coins. Boss, please give rewards from the web page next time. Crying to death, is it going to take 30% or so from Apple, and then arrive 3 months late?